Right now, we also want to bring in Dana Jacobson, CBS This Morning Saturday co-host. She interviewed Kobe Bryant late last year. Dana, first of all, your thoughts on this news that we're just learning details about.
Well, Elaine, I'm sure it's the same as what Steve said and what everybody's thinking. I mean, it's shocking. You see that, and it can't be true. It's sad. It's tragic. Genuinely, I feel that I'm a little bit in shock that the night after LeBron James passes him on the scoring list, his last tweet was congratulations to LeBron. That he's been lost in a helicopter crash is just absolutely devastating. He is one of the greatest to have played the game. His impact on the game is so huge, but it just is so shocking. He had a whole other life to lead. From the last interview that I did with him, talked so much about what was next for him. And with 4 young girls and his wife, it just, there isn't another word other than tragic that comes to mind.
Dana, we're going to try and find that tweet that you just mentioned, Kobe's last tweet, because I know that's something that others have mentioned as well, as really kind of being illustrative of how there was such a camaraderie, certainly an affinity he had for others who were at the very top of the sport, as he was.
Yeah, and you know, Elaine, it's interesting, just out of coincidence, because that happened yesterday. I was having a conversation with some NBA people yesterday about how much Kobe had wanted to catch Jordan, because I was wondering, do you think that it bothered him that LeBron passed him? Because when I spoke with him, he seemed, as you said, really appreciative that there was this nod to everybody else, that what LeBron was doing was so great. And the people I talked with said they really thought that he was upset that he never reached that Jordan level. But I would say from talking to him when we did this past October, you know, it was interesting. He had put that basketball side aside. I remember asking him if he missed the game. And he didn't miss the game as far as playing it. He loved that his youngest girls didn't remember him playing, that they thought of their sisters playing the game and not dad, that he was dad to them, that he had launched this new career as a young adult book author, that there was so much more to do. He was working with a production company, Granity Studios is his production company that he launched. He won the Oscar just a few years ago for his Basketball Diaries short, and he was embracing this whole other life that he was creating and building off of what he had done in the NBA, that basketball was such a love for him, but he knew that it was time to move on, and when he did, he knew that he could write more to his legacy, and that's what he was looking forward to doing.
As you were speaking, Dana, we showed that tweet, that last tweet that you referenced a moment ago, Kobe Bryant's last tweet there, continuing to move the game forward, King James, much respect, my brother. Tell me a little bit more about the notion that despite all his success actually in the arena, there was so much more that he seemed to be looking forward to, clearly, in the conversation that you had with him.
Yeah, and, you know, Elaine, he obviously had such a long and illustrious career that you think you could just sort of sit back when you're done.
Exactly.
They told me at Granity Studios he was the first one in every day and one of the last to leave. That this wasn't, let me put my name on this. This was his passion project. We talked about how he loved writing from an early age. He had a teacher that sort of inspired him. So he loved to write. And during his NBA career, he used to sit on planes, sit on buses. He would write. He tried to be a part of some of the commercials that were done for him by writing some of these, or at least trying to get a tagline in one of them. And so his next career, when things were done, he knew where he was going. He knew he wanted to be a storyteller. And it started with that diary, that short, I should say, Basketball Diaries, that talked about his love of the game. It was beautifully done. He won the Oscar for it. And then he had a podcast, and the books that he had were all about bringing sports to young adults. It was all about sharing the love of the game, about learning how to do it the right way. And then this whole other side of this storytelling and the magical nature of these novels, these young adult novels that he was writing. I remember asking, and don't quote me exactly on it, but it was, 50 years from now, what do you want your legacy to be? And he talked about the books. He wanted people to remember him as the storyteller who was helping bring sports to kids by telling these stories. And I sort of laughed and said, and what, the basketball side is just for us, for the old people that we remember it? And he laughed. I think that was maybe being a little blasé about it, but I think he knew he had done what he could in the game, and that he left his imprint on the game, and that he could reach so many more people by the work that he was doing. He coached his daughter Gianna's team. We were able to get some of that. He worked with these young girls and loved seeing their passion for the game as that built. And in a way, that's, I think, why maybe, if I can sort of use my own mind into it, that he maybe didn't miss basketball as much, is that he really still had a chance to be a part of the game by watching these young girls grow and learn and find their desire to play as well.
Dana, as you've been speaking, I just want to note for our viewers, President Trump has now weighed in on this news, calling it terrible news. He tweeted just a short time ago, reports are that basketball great Kobe Bryant and 3 others have been killed in a helicopter crash in California. That is terrible news. But Dana, going back to what you were saying a moment ago, how rare was it to have a sports figure who was so accomplished as Kobe Bryant was? You have interviewed many prominent sports figures during your career, but to have someone who, quote unquote, retires, but then has such a clear focus on what the next steps are in one's career.
It's interesting. I think there are a lot of guys who realize that any injury could be the end of that career, so maybe you should be thinking of the next. But I don't know that I've seen any that are, or at least I haven't gotten to talk to any that are as driven. I literally just sat down to do an interview with a former NFL player, Nnamdi Asomugha, and I would say some of the drive is very similar to what he's doing now in the entertainment industry. But for Kobe Bryant, again, to be one of the greatest to play the game and then find that same success somewhere else, maybe we should say it's not surprising, because obviously the work ethic, the desire to be the best at something is what helped drive him away from the court later. I just think he was that person. It goes back to the kid that he was. He wasn't a one-dimensional, I just want to play basketball. He recounted a story of when he was a teenager. His sister was doing some type of dance contest and needed some help, and she basically got him to participate in this dance contest. And he had to give up basketball practice to go to it. And he was like, I love dancing. Of course I wanted to do it. I was happy to do it. So I think, the idea that people saw him maybe as so focused on the game of basketball, of course he was at that level, for anybody to have that success. But he had always had so many other things around it that he enjoyed, that when he left the game, it was spending time with his kids, being able to go and pick them up and spend the time that he didn't get with them while he was playing. There was no basketball schedule dictating things. And then being able to express himself. I think I got the feeling from when we spoke that he enjoyed a little of the surprise that maybe some people had at the books that he was writing, that he was so hands-on. And as you referenced, I think that's something that's so unique. You'll see a lot of people that have one career and are so focused and driven go into other careers, but maybe not be as hands-on. And I think for Kobe, that was the perfectionist of, I have to be hands-on, I have to do this, I can't trust somebody else to do it. I have to be the one. And maybe that's why he has had the success that he has, and it was something that he loved. You think about back to when you were in high school, if a teacher ignited something in you that you loved, it's hard to let that go. And I think he was willing to say, I'm going to have to put it aside for a while, but that's maybe why he came back to some of the storytelling.
Dana, how deeply do you think his death will be felt, not just in the world of basketball, but in the greater sports world as well?
Oh, I mean, Elaine, I don't even know that. I've been trying to sort of in the last hour figure out the perspective of what this is, because he's so young, to die so young. I don't think that I've known a player of his greatness that we've lost at this age. He was not a perfect man. He'd be the first one to tell you that, and obviously had his own issues. But when it came to the game of basketball, to be with the same team for 20 years, to have achieved the level of success that he has, all the titles, the championships, the time in LA, especially to play for a team like that, I don't know that we can actually. I know this isn't the answer. I can't find the perspective. It will be one of the greatest. I think maybe the way people talk about Roberto Clemente and, look back, it's different than when we lost to Muhammad Ali and he had lived his life and you've seen that full arc. This was what else would be next. And to lose somebody in, a time where they're trying to have this second chapter, I think people will always wonder what would have been next. What else would you have seen for him?